You attend services, you read scriptures, but there is a hollow space, a place where the official narrative fails to resonate. You are told of salvation, you are offered grace. Yet, a part of you feels locked out, excluded from a deeper knowing. You sense a history that was erased, a power that was buried, not because it was false, but because it was dangerously real. This hidden truth threatened an empire. It challenged a system built on fear, and it involved a woman whose very presence could dismantle centuries of established control. The unveiling of the erased. For too long, Mary Magdalene has been relegated to the shadows, a tragic figure, a redeemed sinner, a footnote in a larger story. This convenient narrative served a purpose. It stripped her of authority, it silenced her voice. But what if her true story was never about penitence? What if it was about power? What if she was not just a follower? What if she was a teacher, an initiate of mysteries that few dared to comprehend? The scriptures they want you to read tell one tale. The forbidden texts, the ones burned and buried, tell another. In those ancient Gnostic writings, her voice rings clear. In the Gospel of Mary, she stands among the apostles. She consoles them. She explains the deepest teachings of Christ. She is not confused. She is confident. She doesn't seek validation. She offers profound spiritual insight. She speaks of inner knowing, of direct access to the divine. No priest, no intermediary, just you and your own connection. This radical autonomy scared them. It threatened their emerging hierarchy. It endangered their carefully constructed power. They needed obedience. She offered freedom. They demanded conformity. She embodied sovereignty. Do you understand now? This wasn't about her past. It was about her future and what she represented for yours. The canonical texts portray her as secondary. The suppressed texts reveal her as central. This deliberate distortion served to neuter the sacred feminine, to create an imbalance, to sever humanity from its intuitive wisdom. Think about your own life. How often do you dismiss your gut feeling? How often do you silence that inner voice? The one that knows, the one that guides. That is the Magdalene current stirring within you. It is the wisdom that flows without books or dogma. It rises from your quietest moments. It lives in your dreams. Your heart remembers it. It does not need approval. It only needs remembrance. History offers hints. In early Christian communities, women held positions of leadership. They taught. They prophesied. Then the agenda shifted. The church began to align with imperial power. It became a tool of control. The direct experience of the sacred was replaced by mediated rituals. This required an erasure, a systematic silencing. Mary Magdalene became the primary target, not a mistake, a strategic act. This isn't just history. This is about why you were taught to distrust your own inner wisdom. It's about why your spiritual sovereignty feels like a fight. The serpent's ancient wisdom. Most people hear dragon and picture a monster, a fire-breathing beast of myth, a symbol of evil to be slain. But this image is a lie, a perversion, an intentional misdirection. To the ancient mind, the dragon held a different meaning. It was a cipher, a living symbol of awakened power, of cosmic intelligence. In Egypt, the Uraeus serpent coiled on pharaohs' crowns. It guarded royal gnosis. It represented divine authority. In Mesopotamia, the serpent curled around the tree of life, an emblem of spiritual ascent. In Celtic lore, the pendragon was a sacred leader, a bridge between heaven and earth. Everywhere, across forgotten cultures, the symbol spoke. It said that within the flow of life lies immense power. a consciousness potent enough to reshape reality. That pulse is what mystics call the dragon lineage. It has nothing to do with earthly crowns. It has everything to do with souls. Souls who carry a direct revelation, a sacred fire in their very bones. These are the priest healers, the ones who move between worlds with ease, the poets who speak in symbols, the dreamers who glimpse forgotten memories. They inherit no castles, only initiation. They trade no money, only vibration. When you encounter someone touched by this current, you feel it. It is like a tuning fork. It sets your own nervous system humming, a frequency you had forgotten. Mary Magdalene and Yeshua did not just share affection. Their union was an act of alchemy. Two streams of luminous code, braiding into one current, seeding a new possibility, a new human timeline. Some legends claim children, others speak of spiritual offspring. The seed was planted either way. Consider it soul DNA, a spark released into history, silently awaiting resonance. Every time you feel drawn to an ancient labyrinth, or a Black Madonna icon, or a coiled dragon on a forgotten artifact, that signal pings. It says, "I am here, wake up." Genetics cannot explain this draw, but frequency can. Just as a radio finds a station, this lineage broadcasts. It resonates with courage, with curiosity, with inner silence. If you have ever felt ancient memory in an old stone circle, if the pages of a forgotten text made your skin prickle with recognition, you have touched that frequency. It doesn't demand perfection. It asks for your presence. The Empire's grip. Modern life tells you these feelings are fantasy. It dismisses your mystical instincts. But ask yourself this: who truly benefits when you doubt your deepest knowing? Empires thrive on outsourced spiritual authority. They convince you the path is too dangerous to walk alone. The dragon lineage shatters this arrangement. It grants direct access. No priest required, no temple fee imposed, no stamp of approval needed. It is no surprise then. Scribes recast the dragon as a demon, Magdalene as a sinner. The danger was not its non-existence. The danger was its reality, and the realization that ordinary people might carry its ember. You know this ember. You feel its restlessness. It flares when you meditate near running water. When a stranger's story cracks your heart open, when a dream leaves the taste of stars on your tongue, it tells you the world is more enchanted than headlines admit. When this knowing comes, experiment. Visit a labyrinth, chant a simple sound, read a page from a Gnostic text, draw a serpent circling itself. Each act is a password. It unlocks a bit more of the code. When skeptics laugh, let them. Myth has always been the vault. It hides a civilization's most subversive truths. As we consider those who tried to bury this vault, burning texts, silencing voices, hunting mystics, the stakes become clear. The guardians of power feared a woman. Her very presence made the hidden fire impossible to contain. The truth of this lineage was never about religion. It was about freedom. Inner, irreversible freedom. The kind that asks no permission. The kind that kneels to no empire. The kind that cannot be bought or controlled. This is precisely what made it dangerous. Not because it sought to destroy, but because it awakened. No empire can long survive. Not when its people begin to awaken. When institutional Christianity merged with the Roman Empire, something wild was domesticated. A mystical path became an imperial strategy. The fire of direct revelation was smothered. Doctrine replaced it. The kingdom within, spoken by Yeshua, was superseded. An external kingdom arose, ruled by bishops, enforced by soldiers, dictated by councils. Mystery gave way to control. If this conversation resonates deeply within your own spirit, If you find yourself questioning what you thought you knew, then I invite you to open yourself further. Consider subscribing to this channel. This is where we uncover the truths they didn't want you to find. The silencing of the sacred feminine. The sacred feminine was silenced, not by chance, but by deliberate design. Mary Magdalene, once revered in hidden circles, a high initiate, a teacher of inner mysteries, the sacred counterpart of Christ himself. She was not merely forgotten. She was rewritten, reduced, muted. She became a penitent sinner, a former prostitute, in need of forgiveness, not a spiritual master. This was no mere character assassination. It was symbolic, strategic, a deliberate act. It neutralized the divine feminine. It severed the spiritual balance, the harmony of masculine and feminine energies. This was not the erasure of one woman. It was the erasure of a current of consciousness, a lineage, a secret thread. It ran through early mysticism, through Gnostic teachings, through the Essenes, through ancient temple mysteries. This thread declared, "You are divine, you are sovereign, you can know God without fear, without priests, without temples of stone. You carry the light." This truth could topple pyramids of power, pyramids built on fear. So the campaign began. Gospels were hidden, teachings labeled heresy. The Gospel of Mary, where she is the bearer of Christ's secret wisdom, it vanished into Egyptian sands. It was unearthed nearly 2,000 years later. The Cathars of southern France, they echoed her teachings. They lived in devotion to the divine feminine. They were slaughtered, a holy genocide. Entire lineages were hunted, not for what they did, but for what they remembered. Ask yourself now, why such extreme lengths to silence a myth? Myths don't need to be burned. Only truths do. Only truths that liberate. Only teachings that carry keys. The dragon lineage was one such key. Not a bloodline in the usual sense, but a spiritual inheritance. A current, a frequency. It held the mysteries of divine union, sacred sexuality, inner transformation. It knew the body was not a prison, but a temple, that the feminine was not subordinate, but co-creative, that the Christ was not a king, but a code, an awakened state of being. Magdalene was the keeper of that code. She embodied it. She transmitted it. This made her dangerous, not her proximity to Yeshua, but her power to reveal what he truly taught. The alchemy of inner union, the remembrance of our original light, the sacred marriage of spirit and flesh, heaven and earth, masculine and feminine. She wasn't just a follower, she was a portal. Portals must be guarded, hidden, or destroyed, if the world is not ready. The unending current. So, the lineage was erased, but not completely. What is real leaves echoes. It leaves whispers in the stones, vibrations in the dreams of mystics, patterns in ancient symbols, a longing in the hearts of those who sense more. Even in the silence, something persisted, a frequency that could not be extinguished, a call. Now that call grows louder. We live in a time when veils are lifting. What was buried is surfacing, not as belief, but as memory. The Magdalene is not returning in flesh. She never left. She is rising within those who dare to see with new eyes, to feel beyond dogma, to awaken the sacred feminine within themselves. This is not about religion. This is about remembrance. I ask you now, not as a historian, but as a mirror. What if everything they tried to erase lives within you? What if your remembering is precisely what they feared? The dragon lineage was never about blood. It was about light. Light, no matter how long hidden, always finds its way through cracks. Will you follow it? They burned the books. They shattered temples. They silenced prophets. They rewrote the scrolls. But truth, real truth, does not die. It hides. It waits. It weaves itself into dreams, into symbols, into the pulse of those who remember without knowing why. While flames devoured sacred texts, while swords spilled the blood of the faithful, the lineage did not vanish. It went underground. It became a symbol, a sacred frequency, passed not through blood, but through soul recognition. It lived on, not in cathedrals or crowns, but in caves, in chants, in the gaze of those who knew the divine could not be caged. In southern France, the Cathars carried this silent light. They spoke not of sin, not of punishment, but of Sophia, holy wisdom, incarnate. They honored Mary Magdalene, not as a fallen woman, but as divine gnosis, the sacred counterpart of Christ. To them, she was the Grail, not a cup, but a mystery to be awakened, the vessel of divine remembrance, the womb of life, the womb of truth. And they died for that truth, not because it was false, but because it threatened foundations. A world built on forgetting. The Grail Within. For the Cathars, the Grail was not a relic. It was a living code, a teaching hidden in plain sight. It was the key to a sacred lineage, a current of divine feminine power. Magdalene carried this, not just in her blood, but in her very being, a power not meant to dominate, but to remember, a vibration so high it became dangerous. Dangerous to those who ruled through fear, because the true Grail, once remembered, made kings irrelevant, cathedrals obsolete. It called people back to the divine within. The Templars knew this too. Behind their armor, beyond their banners, behind wars fought in God's name, there was another layer. Few ever saw it, a hidden order within the order. In secret chambers, they did not bow to the cross of conquest. They bowed to the ancient mother. They revered the Black Madonna, the sacred feminine, cloaked in mystery, shrouded in shadow. Their treasures were not golden relics, but maps of inner alchemy, keys to a divine union, a union that transcended flesh. They were keepers of a flame, not of war, but of remembrance. They protected a truth that could never be placed on an altar, that the Grail was not a thing, but a knowing, that divine union is not a myth of the past, but a blueprint for the future. They held a memory, a time when masculine and feminine walked as equals, mirrors of one another, co-creators of balance. For this, they too were betrayed, hunted, extinguished by fire and politics. But like the Cathars, they left more than ashes. Across Europe, legends swirled, secret bloodlines, royal families touched by something otherworldly. The Merovingians, some say, descended from Magdalene and Yeshua's sacred union. Whether metaphor or fact, the meaning is clear. Humanity once held a template of divine balance. That template can be activated again. The Christ was not a man, but a frequency. Magdalene was not a mistake in the story. She was the key to it. The blue blood of these royal lines was never about politics or superiority. It was symbolic, a truth that beneath the flesh there is light, that some carry the memory of the original flame more clearly, not because they are chosen, but because they chose to remember. And that remembrance is open to all. That is the hidden current. That is the Grail. It lives not in the veins of kings, but in the hearts of those who feel a tremor, something sacred stirring, beneath the surface of this world. The Guardians were never preserving a religion. They were protecting a vibration, a state of being, a secret not meant to be owned, but lived. The Cathars, the Templars, the Gnostics, the mystics, they were bridges between seen and unseen, between heaven and earth. Though many fell, the current never stopped. Spiritual DNA needs no temples. It needs consciousness. If you are drawn to understanding these deeper layers of existence, to the entities and forces that operate just beyond our common sight, then I have something for you. We have an entire collection of videos dedicated to these subjects. Explore our playlist on esoteric knowledge and demonology. You will find the link in the pinned comment below. The Prophecy of Remembrance. Now, the call is returning, not to go back in time, but to bring the memory forward, to reclaim what was hidden, not with swords, but with sight. The Grail was never beneath stone. It was never buried in a crypt or sealed in a scroll. It lives wherever one soul dares to remember its divine origin. It lives in you. You don't need to find the Grail. You are the Grail. You are the vessel, the remembrance, the sacred space where divine feminine and conscious masculine meet and create anew. The lineage. It is not a royal family. It is a frequency waiting to awaken in every soul brave enough to reclaim it. The time has come, not to search, but to remember, not to follow, but to become. The Grail is not lost. It was only waiting for you. The world today suffers from a sickness of the soul. We have mastered technology, but forgotten how to listen. We are surrounded by noise, but starved of meaning. The sacred has become externalized, buried in institutions, rituals, dogma, while the inner temple lies abandoned. But something ancient stirs. It bears the name of Mary Magdalene. Her return is not religious. It is archetypal. She is not coming back in flesh and bone, but in memory, in resonance, in the deep longing of the human spirit to reconnect with what was lost. She represents the wisdom we buried, the intuition we silenced, the sacred feminine we feared. Her lineage is not confined to bloodlines or dynasties. It is a living current, a frequency. It pulses in every soul, brave enough to seek truth beyond doctrine, beyond dogma, beyond the walls of orthodoxy. You don't have to be descended from kings or mystics to belong to this lineage. If you feel the call of something more, something deeper than what the world offers, then you are already part of it. It speaks in your intuition. It stirs in your dreams. It flows through your acts of courage, your silent prayers, your hunger for meaning. In a world that worships distraction, the lineage of the dragon is not a myth. It is spiritual. It is vibrational. It is the sacred union of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, reborn within those who dare to remember. It lives in your refusal to numb yourself, in your choice to heal instead of hate, in your desire to awaken rather than conform. You don't need permission. You don't need a title. You only need to answer the quiet knock within. The lineage is not returning. It is already here. It has been waiting for you. You were never meant to follow blindly. You came here to remember. The story of Mary Magdalene and the dragon lineage was never about the past. It was always a prophecy, a mirror, a seed planted in the human soul, waiting for the right moment to awaken. And that moment is now. The bloodline they erased was never just genetic. It was energetic. It was a path, a vibration, a call to live in truth, to restore sacred balance, to walk with both wisdom and fire. If you felt that stirring within you, that unexplainable longing for something ancient and alive, then you already carry it. You are the continuation of the lineage, not by blood, but by spirit. If this knowledge ignited a forgotten memory within you, tell me below, What part of you resonated most with Mary Magdalene's silenced power, or the dragon's true meaning? Your insights are part of this awakening.